We're going back to the book of Daniel, written over 500 years before Jesus' time. And Daniel's an interesting book. There's lots of prophecy that's already been fulfilled in terms of not only the Messiah, but also in terms of world kingdoms and that sort of thing. He also prophesies about end times events, which next to the book of Revelations is probably the second scariest book in the Bible. I don't know. The predictions made about when the Messiah would come. And in this prophecy, it talks about 7 weeks and 7 sevens, I should say, and 62 more sevens. The implication being that sevens are 7-year periods. Well, they said that at that time, if you add 7 sevens together and 62 sevens, 483 years later, the time of the Messiah, the time of the anointed one who would be cut off, killed, would be here. So, sure enough, about 483 years after the decree goes out to rebuild Jerusalem and the temple, and that's based on Artaxerxes' declaration of about 457 BC, the time of Jesus to be cut off, his death, would be at hand. Now, quite honestly, it's impossible for us at this point to actually pinpoint the date of Jesus' death enough to know whether that prophecy was perfectly fulfilled or not. It's certainly within the confidence interval, but I'm not going to lie to you, we don't know exactly that that was fulfilled. So there's two things. It's darn close, it's within a few years, so that's pretty impressive, and there exists the possibility that it was perfectly fulfilled, and I believe it probably was. I mean, there's little reason to doubt it. But that's a very impressive prophecy about when the Messiah would be here, and that's why the word on the street in Jerusalem when Jesus was around, where people were looking for the Messiah. They knew. They had read Scripture. They knew Daniel. They knew this was about the time. Where is he? There's another prophecy that's also tough to validate, but again, there's no reason to doubt it, and that was in Micah, written about 700 years before Jesus' birth, and that was that the little town of Bethlehem would be where the Messiah would come from. Now, if we were going to plan a hoax, if we were going to put together our own prophecies of the greatest religious leader that would ever live, the greatest spiritual leader, and we were going to pick a city to increase our chances of being correct, we would not pick a little town like Bethlehem. We would pick Rome, we'd pick Jerusalem, whatever. But it was prophesied that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. And even though Jesus wasn't raised there, he was raised in Nazareth, that there's every reason to believe there was an edict went out, that there was a census, and everyone was supposed to return to the town of their lineage. And so Joseph and Mary would be going to the town of Bethlehem to do that. So there's every reason to believe they were there and that Jesus was born just as the depiction went. Again, we can't verify it, so I'll be real honest with you. It's a little bit up in the air, but it's pretty impressive. And again, the prediction of when the time of the Messiah would be here, when the anointed one would be cut off, that we know is within just a few years of the date of Jesus' death. And hey, there's no reason to really doubt that it wasn't exactly right on. So more evidence in the Old Testament, in Jewish holy book, that Jesus is the Messiah.